And as you can see, because we did that, this is the hardest enemy in this fight because it is a barbarian. As you can see, we took out 71 hit points in one round of attacks on him. This also allows us to do our paralyzing critical, and he is now paralyzed. We're going to make the best archer in Baldur's Gate 3, but it's a bard. Let me explain. As always, we are going to go level by level and have a combat tutorial. So let's begin. I have my lovely human, Minsk, here, who is going to be our test dummy. And alas, we go bard. Now for spells, I would personally take Blade Ward and the Minor Illusion. We're not going to be an offensive type character when it comes to these spells. So something that you can just throw up that doesn't need a attack roll or anything like that is your best bet here. Now for your spells at level 1, again, we're not really going to be too offensive. So what I would do personally would be Long Strider, because this is a ritual spell. Thunderwave, because I think Thunderwave is just amazing, and it's one of my favourite spells in the entire game. Featherfall, because again, doesn't require you to actually do damage, so need an attack roll. And Tasha's Hidden Laughter, just because I do think it can be rather useful. For an instrument, pick whatever you fancy. We'll give our lovely Minsk a violin, because why not? And for your stats, this is what I would have. I would focus on Dexterity and Constitution, just if we do want to hold some concentration spells. Charisma we can really dump, we don't need to worry about it. And then the rest I would leave akin to this. For your proficiencies, again, pick whichever you want. Base this just on however you want your playstyle to be. Don't worry about min-maxing or anything like that. It's not worth it. Okay, so for this build, there are two main things we want. It's an extra attack, and we want action surge. So, to begin with, we're going to go over to Fighter at level 2. We're going to take our Archery Fighting Styles. That gives us a +2 bonus to our attacks. And then at level 3, you might be thinking, why not stick with Fighter for level 2? We're going to go over to Bard again for level 3 overall, so this will be a level 2 Bard. For your spell, again, you can really pick anything. I personally would take Speak with Animals, just because it's a good sort of utility spell. We're going to stick with Bard at level 3, so we're now level 4 overall, and this will give us our specialization. So for a spell, I personally would take Hold Person. This can be very, very helpful if you can land it, because essentially what will happen is any character that is held, all attacks against them will be critical hits unless they break it. And we're going to go with College of Swords because this gives us our flourishes. And what we really want is Slashing Flourish, but we want the ranged version. This allows us to hit 2 enemies at once with a attack. It does use a Bardic Inspiration, but you'll see how much damage this will do. And we're going to take 2 weapon fighting. Reason being is we are going to be having some daggers equipped, which I will explain when we come to doing our items. This will also make sense, I promise. Again, expertise, just go down on what you want, to be honest. Don't worry again about picking anything min-maxy for the build. It's not necessary. Pick anything that will help you out of combat. We are sticking with Bard for level 4, level 5 overall. This will give us our first feat and another spell. And again, for this, really take anything. I'm going to take Dancing Lights. For a spell, we're going to take another utility one. We're going to take Knock, because I think Knock is very, very helpful for just getting into places. And for your feat, we're going to go with the ASI, and we're going to bump our dex up to 18. Okay, at level 6, we're going to stick with Bard for level 5. This gives us access to a 3rd level spell, and we will take Glyph of Warding. I think this is an incredible spell. You can throw it on the ground, and it will trigger. So if there's already enemies in our center, they don't even need to move. You can throw it up, and then at the end of your turn, it will trigger and do whatever sort of buff you put on it, it will do. And Bard level 6 is what we've been aiming for the extra attacks. We now make 2 attacks per round. Incredible. We have one more spell we can take, so let's take Stinking Cloud. This is a really good spell. You throw it up. It is concentration, so please bear that in mind. But it essentially allows you to just throw this up, and anyone within the gas cannot take any actions. An amazing ability. Okay, so now that we are level 8 overall and we have our extra attack, we're going to go to Fighter for Action Surge. This will now give you 4 attacks per round when you Action Surge. Now remember, it is a one and done, so you don't get it continuously, but it does mean for 1 round, especially if it's the opening round of a fight, 4 attacks in 1 round is mental. Okay, going with Fighter level 3 when we are level 9. This will give us our subclass. Now you might be thinking we're going to take Battle Master. We're not. We're going to go Champion for the improved critical hit. Because not only does it reduce it by 1, so now crits are a 19, it also can stack with other abilities. We're going to take the Fighter to level 4 when we hit level 10, just because we want the access to the feat. And from here, we will take Sharpshooter. Anyone that doesn't know what this is, basically any attacks now on high ground, or sorry, from low ground to high ground are not penalised. You can also take a -5 penalty to hitting to do an additional 10 damage, and this is toggleable. Please remember that. You can toggle this on and off, but an extra 10 damage per attack is just insane, especially if you're in a position to do a really good hit and the -5 to attack isn't really penalised. Phenomenal. And at level 11, we dip back over to Bard for level 7. Again, we have access to another spell, and I would take Dimension Door. This is a really good utility spell to get you around the battlefield. Not only will it take you around, it will also take an ally. So if there's you and, let's say, a wizard at the back, and you want to get some high ground, you can teleport both of them on the same round to our higher ground. And finally, Bard level 8, because we want access to that last feat, we also have one more spell. So for this, really, it's dealer's choice. Take whatever you fancy. I would take another utility spell myself, like Lesser Restoration. There's also Greater Invisibility, anything you really want to do here. What we really care about is the feat. Now, my two options would be either the ASI to bump your dex up to 18, or Alert. Get a +5 initiative, and you cannot be surprised, because the earlier in the round you are, the quicker we can damage all the enemies with these massive hits we're going to do. Take whatever you fancy. We are going to take the ability improvement though, and bump our dex up to 20. Okay, so that is our build all laid out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some extra items we can equip. So, when it comes to headwear, I like the Mask of Soul Perception. This gives you a +2 bonus to attack rolls, initiative, and perception checks. Really, really good. I think this is a great helmet. Your other option, and I think this is another great option, Savarok's Horned Helmet. So you gain dark vision, but the number you need to roll a critical hit is reduced by 1 again and can stack. So if you stack this with what we took previously, our crits are now only an 18 from being in champion. It will also give you Constitution saving throws +1. Very, very good. So really your toss-up is between, do you want to have a reduced critical number or a +2 to initiative and attack rolls? Again, you cannot really go wrong with your options here. For a cloak, I would take the Cloak of Displacement. So at the beginning of the turn, the cloak activates, granting enemies disadvantage on attack rolls that target the wearer. I think this is amazing. This will last until we take damage. But if we're at the back in range, we're less likely to get hit anyway. The other option would be the Cloak of Protection, which gives you a +1 to your armor class and to your athletics, I believe it is. But if you look on the side, our armor class is already a 23, so I think we can sacrifice the +1. I know 24 armor class is amazing for a bard. I think we can sacrifice though and keep this cloak to make us harder to hit. I like the Nightwalkers. This allows us to not be ensnared, entangled, or webbed, and we cannot slip on ice or grease, which means we can move around the battlefield so much easier. But it also gives us Misty Step, and I think Misty Step is one of the best spells in the game. It's a bonus action, and you can just teleport to wherever you need to be. It's so good. For armor, I really like the Armor of Agility. Now, this allows us to add our Dexterity modifier to the armor itself, and because Dexterity is what we are using, and the armor is already 17, we have a +5, so we have 22 armor class just from using this armor. It doesn't dispose disadvantage on ability checks, which is phenomenal, and we get +2 to saving throws. I really think this is an amazing piece of medium armor you can put on any character, especially a dex-based one. When it comes to gloves, I really like the Gloves of Power. On a hit with a weapon attack, possibly inflict a -1d4 penalty to a target's attack rolls and saving throws, and we get the Sleight of Hand +1. Really, really good. For rings, I like the Caustic Band because this just gives us an extra 2 base damage. 2 extra acid damage per hit. Really good as just a base level ring. The Killer Sweetheart. So when you kill a creature, your next attack will be a critical hit. And what's really good about this is when you do this with a slashing flourish, both attacks with your arrow will be critical hits, which means you'll do maximum damage with 2 attacks, but on 1 round. An amazing ring to use. Couple this with the Surgeon's Amulet, and once per long rest when scoring a critical hit on a humanoid, you can paralyze the target for 2 turns. So if you do this on a Viconia or some big boss, if you kill an enemy first, hit them with a critical from Killer Sweetheart, you can then paralyze them for 2 turns after this. It's a phenomenal ability, and we will try and test this out in my little combat tutorial. When it comes to bows, I really like the Dark Fire short bow because it gives us resistance to fire and cold damage, but more importantly, it lets us cast haste, which means we can do more attacks per round. Now, if you're looking for some earlier bows, the Hunting short bow is really good. This can be found in Act 1, and it basically just gives you Hunter's Mark, which is a bonus action. Now, it is only once per either short or long rest, I believe, but if you can keep your concentration up by hanging at the back, you're just going to do an additional 1d6, I believe it is, damage per hit on a creature. Very, very strong bow for the beginning of the game. There's also the Dead Shot. So this allows you to reduce your critical hits by 1 and can stack. So once again, if you couple this with the Savrok's helmet, for example, and with what I'm about to show you, you can reduce your critical hit chance down to a 16. Because what is really good is you can equip some daggers but not need to use them. So if we put this into our main hand, this is the Bloodthirst, the number you need to roll a critical hit is reduced by 1. So now, we as a character, if we equipped all these items, only need a 16 to hit a crit, which is insane. There's also the Gleam Dance Dagger. Now, one of the benefits of this is if you put it into your offhand with the Gleam Dancer, you gain a +1 bonus to your armor class, which is why our AC is 23 overall, 17 from our armor. Because of exotic materials, we add our dexterity, which is +5, that takes us to 22, plus this dagger, 23 AC, and you don't even need to use the weapons. So, we're going to do this two ways. I will show you how this looks with this setup, and then I'll equip the other items and show you how this build is with them. So, let's leave this, let's go and find some combat and test this out. Okay, so here we are in the fight, and as you can see, we are already number 2 in the initiative order. So let's just do a standard attack. Now, let's say we've done that, we can come over here, and we just shoot this enemy here. Awesome. 24 base damage is insane. But what this has now given us is the killer's Sweetheart has triggered, which means the whole point of this build is to come here to our Slashing Flourish. Again, it will use a Bardic Inspiration, but we get to attack 2 enemies at once. Let's hit this. Executioner, because as I stated, it will do the critical hit on both arrows. And as you can see, because we did that, this is the hardest enemy in this fight because it is a barbarian. As you can see, we took out 71 hit points in 1 round of attacks on him. This also allows us to do our paralyzing critical, and he is now paralyzed. Phenomenal stuff. You can also see our Cloak of Displacement has triggered. What's really good now is we can come in here with an Action Surge, and we have a whole round again, which will allow us to do something like move out the way over here, and then put haste on ourselves. So now we are concentrating on haste, and this means we have another round of attacks. So we could come in here with a Slashing Flourish, and we'll just target this one this time. And you can see we just did another almost 70 damage. In fact, we did 63 damage from that one. And we don't even need to worry about doing another Slashing Flourish, because we can just shoot a normal arrow. Could have done a normal arrow, unfortunately we missed, but that's okay. But we also still have a round we can do for our bonus round, so we could heal up if we needed to. We could do a Misty Step if we wanted to. We won't though, we're going to end our turn. And as you can see, the enemy there is still very, very paralyzed. What's really good about this is if we run up, we will take the hit, that's okay. But because they are paralyzed, every hit on them will be a critical hit, which means for 2 rounds, you'll get a critical hit on the hardest enemy in the fight if you manage to land that build up. Very, very powerful. Okay, so we are still hasted, even though we took some damage. So let's come up here, and we're going to really show off how this build is phenomenal. Now you can see we are all in with the Sharpshooter, which is absolutely fine. We'll come over here, we'll do our Slashing Flourish ranged again. Now unfortunately we only hit with one of them, but that's okay, because we can come back in here with it. And you'll see we got the kill shot. But because we are hasted, you know how this works. If you know how the game works, we can, if we can find a line of sight, we should be able to. I really hate how the camera is janky in this fight. We just come over here. We still have 2 whole rounds because we've only done 2 attacks. So we can once again come in with a Slashing Flourish and target this one. There we go. And because we don't have enough Bardic Inspiration, we can just do some normal ranged attacks now and still do some bulk damage. As you can see there, we have taken out so many enemies so quickly, it's unreal. Now what we'll do is we will switch this up and I'll show you how this fight works with the other equipment on use. So we won't be hasted, but we'll have a higher crit chance. And it might not work because we might have some low rolls, but there is a chance we will crit a lot more and do a lot more damage. So let's finish this fight off camera and then we'll reload with the other items equipped and you can see how that works. Okay, so before we start the next fight, I just want to show you the benefit of this. So as you can see, we have no Bardic Inspiration left, but let's short rest. We've got all our Bardic Inspiration back, which means for the next fight, we can once again do all those ranged flourishes again. So good. Let's reload, change all our equipment, I'll show you how that works as well. Okay, we have changed up the armor, and once again, we are second in the turn order, which I'm quite surprised at, but we'll take it. So let's just deal some damage to these guys. There we go. Right. So we now have an improved critical chance, so let's test this out. We have 2 attacks per round still, don't forget. So instantly we started with a critical hit. That is crazy to me. So let's go with our Slashing Flourish. We'll target the crits on this guy again. Executioner, Executioner, and Paralyzed. Now, again, that would be the end of our round. However, Action Surge. And we can come back in with a Slashing Flourish. Now we have disadvantage on this guy, so let's not target them. Let's do this one. Which, insane. We've just done so much damage. And another kill shot. Absolutely incredible. This is such a powerful bow build. Okay, so as before, if we come up here, we will do a critical hit on this target here. Which is just crazy. Absolutely crazy. So let's go and do it. There we go, and look at that. We did so many critical hits, it's unreal. And again, brings us back to our amazing ranged character. Now, we have our Slashing Flourish, so let's get that going. And we'll target 2 on the gentleman here. And we should be able to kill them in one shot now. There you go. This is what's really good. If the enemy has around 60-ish health, with your 2 attacks, you usually can do one ranged Slashing Flourish to knock them down to almost health, and then just finish them off with a normal attack, really making your Bardic Inspiration last for most of, if not all of the fight, depending on the scale of the fight itself. Okay, so sadly Shadowheart did not have what I needed, which is okay, because we'll just target this guy. Again, Slashing Flourish, 85% chance, and a massive crit to kill them in one round. And even with the disadvantage, if we try it again, let's see what happens. Not Mobile Flourish, Slashing Flourish. Let's see with 90% disadvantage if we can do it. We still got 1 hit on them, which is phenomenal.
But another harvest.
Now, theoretically, we wanted to try Fairy Fire, so let's go. They did not save that time. Perfect. So all I want to try and show here, although they're about to move out of range, aren't they? They have not. What I want to show here is if you can couple it with something that has Fairy Fire, that gives you advantage, essentially. You can really increase your crit chance, because now we have advantage on this attack. So, we can't do a flourish because we haven't got any left, but if we just did a normal ranged attack, you see we have a 99% chance to hit, with advantage. So, wasn't a crit, but if you can hit that with an advantage, with Slashing Flourish, for example, you have advantage, so you roll twice for each attack, you roll each attack twice, and with a crit chance that you need a 16 for, you can really throw out these critical hits and just bulk do damage. So that is my Bardic Archer, possibly the best archer in the entire game, with 2 different sets of equipment to really show how you want to do it. You can either go with the higher crit chance, or you can go with more hits per round. Choice is really yours. Either way, I think this is a phenomenal build, and it's so powerful. Go and try it out. Now, let me know what you thought about this build below. Let me know if you changed anything and what other items you would put on the build. If you're new and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Please drop a like, it helps me amazingly. And hopefully I will see you guys in my next build video. Bye guys.